Once again, thank you all for being here. 30 years ago, Dr. Charles Marlar and Dr. Cheryl Mann Bacon envisioned this Gutenberg celebration as a way to honor our outstanding alumni and a way to inspire our students to excellence. And I would say over 30 years, it has done both of those things, and it's done that very well over these decades. And it's done much more. It has become a time for us to remind ourselves of who we are, what connects us, why we do what we do. It's a time to celebrate great work and a time to anticipate the great things that are to come. So in a little bit, I want to brag about our JMC faculty and about our students. But first, I want to make some introductions. We have an incredible group of alumni and others who continue to support the department year after year. Several of them are sponsors for tonight's event, and in addition to giving in other ways. You can see their names in the program, but I want to acknowledge them also. So I'll read the names, and we can thank them as a group at the end of reading the names. But Martin and Mary Perry, Alicia and Brian Pierce, Dr. Cheryl Mann Bacon, the Branch Church, who is represented today by David and Tina Teutsch, Kendall and Lisa Costello, and John and Tracy Kranz, Luke and Sarah Hale, and Diane Atchison. So let's show our appreciation for sponsorship. We also have several award ceremony sponsors and several student sponsors listed in our program. And we have several Marlar mug sponsors who are also listed. Thank you to all of you for your support of the department. If you haven't already seen the Marlar mugs outside, just to explain that a little bit, Charlie Marlar, for years, collected mugs from various places that he went, all newspapers and media-related mugs. When we did the inventory, Alyssa, how many did we, 120-something mugs? And so our idea is not to break up the collection. Our idea is that the JMC family maintains the collection in multiple places throughout the world. We have several members of the university administration here with us this evening, and I'll ask them to wave as I read their names, and we'll recognize them at the end. Dr. Phil Schubert, the 11th president of the university, and his wife Brooke are here. Dan Macaluso was going to be here. I don't know that he was able to be here. Dr. Jessica Smith, assistant provost for curriculum and assessment, who also has a faculty appointment in JMC, is here. Let's see, Jessica. Craig Fisher, assistant vice president and director of alumni relations, university relations, and annual projects, is here. He's over there. And also Jay McCadle, who is assistant director of alumni relations and university relations. I have everybody tonight. You don't want to miss the administrators. Let's thank you. Thanks very much. We have one member of the university's board of trustees joining us tonight. Mitch Wilburn is here, and his wife Shannon. Thanks for being here. And so let me introduce the JMC faculty, and we have an emerita with us also. So the faculty with us, Dr. Doug Mendenhall, Professor Cade White. We have two new faculty members, Professor Carly Adrian, who's joined the faculty this fall to coordinate advertising and public relations as assistant professor. Professor Hutton Harris was here, but he is back at ACU TV running the feed. And so for those who are watching online, Professor Harris has been with the department for 5 years as the director of ACU TV and has taken it to new heights as an ESPN Plus distribution outlet. And so he's officially joined the faculty this fall, which we're very excited about. My wife, Amy, is here as well. So let's show our appreciation to those. We have Cheryl Mann Bacon, who is a Professor Emerita, the department, former chair, my predecessor as chair, is here. We have Peggy Marlar, the wife of Professor Emeritus Charlie Marlar, is here. So thank you for being here. Let me list out our staff members who are here. So Summer Walters, Student Success Manager for JMC and Art and Design. Joseph Crockett, who is the Budget Manager for JMC and Art and Design, and his wife Ren are here. Lisa Wiggins, Director of Student Media Marketing, is here. Heather Claiborne, Station Manager at KACU, is here. Katie Pantoja, Digital Media Editor and Operations Manager at KACU, is here. And Ernesto Guajardo, Assistant Operations Manager at ACU TV, are here. So thanks for being here. Also, we have Cassandra Lopez, who's a former Optimist ad manager who is here. It's been 20 years, but we remember. So we are blessed to have many previous Gutenberg recipients here tonight, and I want to acknowledge them. I will read their names, and we can acknowledge them at the end. Jonathan Smith, Daniel Johnson Kim, Regina Burns, Martin Perry, Grant Boone, Gary Foster, Dr. Doug Mendenhall, and myself. So, again, I didn't miss anybody, right? Did I get everybody? Good. I forget people sometimes. I do want to mention Regina Burns. Regina was among the first group who were honored with Gutenberg 30 years ago. And she, first woman who was named a Gutenberg recipient, the first African-American named, and just recently she had a story published in Texas Highways, and so that's a very big deal. So I just wanted to tell her, I didn't even see her, I wanted to tell her congratulations on that. So. I know we want to get to our awards, but I want to brag first on the faculty and the students, and so let me do that. So I've got the microphone, I'm going to do it, all right? We've had an incredible year in the department. If you'll indulge me, let me tell you a little bit about what the faculty and what the students have done. So last November, JMC partnered with the Honors College to bring 2 executive producers of the show, The Chosen, to campus, and we conducted a filmmakers forum for students with those producers. They'll be back on Monday speaking in Big Chapel, and we're going to have an exclusive for JMC majors, a filmmakers forum in ACU TV on Sunday afternoon. Hutton Harris has begun season 2 of the Inside Source podcast, a sports audio show recorded with our students in the new JMC podcast studio constructed last year in the Don Morris building with the help of the College of Arts and Sciences. Senior journalism major Sheridan Wood from Lubbock is knocking it out of the park at KACU, with 5 of her stories appearing over the past year on the Texas Standard, which is the national daily news show of Texas, and airs throughout the state on NPR-affiliated stations. She told me last night she's working on number 6, so good for her. Professor Cade White worked to develop a course we're going to launch in the spring that will connect multimedia students with local nonprofits for which they will produce promotional videos and help them tell their stories. 4 JMC students embedded with other departments across campus this spring and summer to chronicle service trips in conjunction with the Halbert Center for Missions and Global Studies with their Wildcat Academics on Mission program. Marika Simpson, Connor Mullins, Emily Schaefer, and Carrie Johnston produced documentary coverage, or are producing documentary coverage of trips to Rwanda, Nicaragua, Honduras, and Uganda, serving alongside students and faculty in several departments across campus. To earn their internship credit, these students were mentored by JMC alums Randy Brewer, Shelby Coates, and Dom Garza Anderson. Dr. Doug Mendenhall and I served on panels and presented scholarship at the annual AEJMC conference in Detroit in August, and Dr. Mendenhall next month is going to present a paper developed out of his introductory JMC 100 Media Issues class at the Southwest Education Council for Journalism and Mass Communication at another lesser-known private school in Waco. JMC department partnered with the Department of Theater in summer of 2022 to pilot a filmmaking project in Los Angeles with a community of Christian filmmakers in the industry. 7 JMC students spent 3 weeks making contacts in the industry and shooting a short film called The Game of Life. And the script was written by sophomore multimedia major Holly Reichling. So, ACU TV is on track to produce 200 events this year, including football, basketball, chapel, and a host of other events. And then finally, senior journalism major London Gray went to Cambodia with Worldwide Witness and is working on a documentary about her experience there. So we've got some pretty cool stuff going on in the department. So every year as we work as a faculty to select our honorees, I am just overwhelmed by how incredible our alums are and how impressive their accomplishments are. In recent weeks, we visited with these three honorees, and we have been floored, I have been floored by their creativity, their passion, their tenacity, their resourcefulness. To all three who are honored tonight, I want to say thank you. Thank you for encouraging our students to dream, to envision, to create, to chart new paths, to imagine themselves doing things they never thought possible. If you look at the program, you can read a little bit about the award and the Gutenberg press models that accompany the awards. Every set of this Gutenberg model that exists on the globe was purchased by Diane Atchison, our former administrative coordinator, and Dr. Charlie Marlar more than 30 years ago. For the past 29 years, it's been Charlie Marlar who has put them together meticulously. Before he passed away in May, Charlie began getting everything ready to make this year's models. And they were finished in the department. Because Charlie had a practice of signing the bottom of the bases of each award, his signature has been engraved on all three that were constructed this year. So you will find, and I think that's kind of special because all three of our honorees were taught by Charlie Marlar in the department. So that's special to me. To be eligible, alumni must have been graduated for 10 years, and their body of work must distinguish him or her, the department, and the university. We accept nominations from alumni and others, and the selection is made by the faculty. So we'll move on to the presentation of awards. First, I'll give you the order, and we'll just kind of move in that order. But first, Dr. Cheryl Mann-Bacon will present to Jay Duty. Second, Grant Boone, who is an alum of the department, 91, a recipient of the Gutenberg Award, 01 recipient, and a constant helper in the department. He will present to Chris Seidman, who I think he's friends with. And then we'll see what he says. Professor Cade White will present to Shelby Coates, and then I will make a special presentation with regard to Charlie Marlar and honor him. And so let's move on to our awards portion.
Before I introduce Jay, just two things. First, I want to congratulate Shelby and Chris, too, personally. This is quite a group. I'm really proud of y'all, really, really proud of you. And secondly, I want to thank whoever put the agenda together tonight, that I don't have to follow Grant Boone talking about Chris Seidman, because I had them in class when they were freshmen, and I don't know if they've improved since then or not. We'll all find out. We'll find out. Jay, who's here in the front row, is joined tonight. I want to introduce his guests first by his wife, Tracy, their son, Nash, his mom, Jana, and his sister, Jill Williams. And I know online, no doubt, his other sister, Jane, and her clan. And in our hearts, by his dad, John, who was my very dear friend and who left us much too soon this past February. I had to say that early and often to make it through that. I actually struggled with how to introduce Jay, because I have known almost all of the Gutenberg honorees for those 30 years for a long time, but none of them for as long as I have known Jay Duty, who I first met on July 4th, 1980. In fact, my friend and colleague, Dr. Doug Mendenhall, unearthed a story from the spring 1980 Pessimist about a fictional naming contest for the soon-to-be-born good friend, is it up here? Yeah, of my good friends John and Jana. And I supposedly, this was in the Pessimist, and it was a contest I supposedly won by proposing the entry, Howdy Doody. But I'm guessing there are no bad Doody name jokes that Jay couldn't repeat in his sleep at this point. It's fair, however, to explain up front that Jay was something of an ACU celebrity from birth. His dad, John, was also a JMC major back in the day, my day, and was special events director at ACU and director of Sing Song and of the university's 75th anniversary celebration the year that Jay was born. And Jay told me the other day that he has a photo on his phone of a shot that the family refers to as the Simba shot. And it is of opening chapel soon after he was born of John lifting the baby into the air to the applause of the surrounding crowd. And I remember that moment. Jay's career in healthcare public relations began right here in Abilene at Hendrick Medical Center, where he spent his first 2 years after graduation. And part of his responsibilities there included coordinating the Children's Miracle Network Telethon, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. It takes place in children's hospitals all over the country, and helped raise over $500,000 for pediatric care at Hendrick. Yeah, that was the first 2 years out, and that was 20 years ago, $500,000, so just do the math on that. That was a particularly appropriate and poignant first job for Jay. Because shortly after he was born, July 4th, 1980, that was the day I met him, at Hendrick, he was flown to Fort Worth for open heart surgery. And I remember very well talking with Jay soon after he took that job at Hendrick, and he was really excited about being in a position to give back to a place that quite literally saved his life when he was just days old, and helping to raise money to care for other little ones that were going to pass through those doors. That motivation, and in fact Jay's entire career, illustrate one of the great opportunities of working in public relations that I've described to students throughout the years. And that's the opportunity to combine your passion in two fields. You don't have to be an elected official to serve your country. You can be a press secretary. You don't have to be an actor or a musician to promote the arts. You don't have to be a doctor to be part of the healthcare community. You can read on Jay's LinkedIn page about his substantial career in healthcare in the Dallas area, but a few things are noteworthy. Since 2015, he has been with Inhabit Home Health and Hospice, which was formerly known as Encompass Home Health, where he was promoted just this summer to Senior Vice President and Chief Corporate Development Officer. Inhabit is actually the 4th largest provider of home health services and the 12th largest provider of hospice services in the U.S., with 351 facilities across 34 states. It's a big operation. Before joining Encompass, Jay served 3 other healthcare organizations in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, starting as a physicians relations coordinator and working his way up to chief operating officer for 2 different hospitals, and completing a master's in healthcare administration along the way, because he needed something else to do. April Anthony, who serves as chair of ACU's Board of Trustees, founded Encompass and worked with Jay during the years that she led that company. And here's what she had to say about Jay's work there. And yes, I really did text the chairman of the board because she used to be my student worker, and about once a year I call in that chip. April said, and I want to say, I texted her. She's a pretty busy lady, and I heard back like that. Jay's wit and good humor always made him a joy to work with. One of his most famous roles at Encompass was as the MC for our annual leadership conference, where he was known to do just about anything for a laugh, including dressing up like Elvis, a sumo wrestler, and the Energizer Bunny, and that one made complete sense to me. On top of that, his competence and commitment to building our culture of caring that extended both internally and externally made him a perfect fit for Encompass. I loved that description. Competence and commitment to building a culture of caring. I'm glad for Encompass that having Jay there worked out so well for them. But what I know is that Jay has personified competence and commitment and caring his entire life, personally and professionally. And that's why he's used his professional skills to serve the United Way and in other nonprofit volunteer roles. That's why he's used his skills in service to his churches where he's worked. In fact, he was the worship leader for a while at the branch where Chris is the minister. A lot of people are good at what they do. And a few people are really committed to principles like caring in their workplace and at home and in the community. But students, you will discover as your careers progress in the days ahead that only a rare few personify it all. Competence, commitment, and caring. Jay is one of those rare few, and that's one of many reasons why I'm really honored to present him tonight with the 2022 Gutenberg Award for Distinguished Professional Achievement.
Here. What does that word mean? What does here look like for us? Is it here where family traditions are handed down? Where time is marked by inches and by milestones? Is it here where our new favorite people couldn't arrive any sooner and our old friends are always game to stay a little later? Here's where the lyrics aren't perfect, but the moments always are. And the things we grow help us grow together. Here's where bonds are built and life experiences shared. Here's also where the future of healthcare is headed, and so are we. Inhabit Home Health and Hospice is expanding what's possible for patient care in the home. With a team led by the best people, equipped with the latest tools, and empowered to take care one step further, one human connection deeper. We're positioned at the forefront where patients want to live their lives. With progressive tech and care analytics, making the ultimate difference. Inhabit Home Health and Hospice isn't just a great place to work. It's a place to change the future of home-based healthcare and families' lives forever. Wherever our patients call here is where we want to meet them. They provide the home, we provide the care, and the technology, and the expertise. The future of home-based healthcare is here. Inhabit Home Health and Hospice.
It's a lot of pressure to be the future of healthcare to step up here. It's a lot of pressure to have a brilliant writer introduce you, right? As Cheryl Bacon can write about you, you sound pretty awesome. That's great. The real me is not there, but thank you. Appreciate that. And then I've got to be quick because Chris Seidman's talking here after me, and he asked me to yield time to him. So, and heads up, he didn't prepare, so that means we're get settled in. Maybe go grab a drink. But I am honored, beyond honored, to receive this award, and I live under the shade of trees I didn't plant. I looked up that quote because I've listened to it my whole life. My dad and I talked about that quote before, and it was from maybe a French theologian that preached it, but I felt that about ACU in my life, that I live under the shade of trees that I didn't plant. And if you're in this room, you probably did too. And so, that legacy of ACU and my professional life, Cheryl didn't, she graciously left out that she actually got me that first job. So I decided to do an internship in Abilene. She was like, I got it, let me make a phone call. And then I was told when to show up, and it went from there. So I appreciate that on many levels. She wouldn't want me to do this, but I used to refer to Cheryl Bacon as Aunt Cheryl because I was very convinced, and I think my mom and dad, Jana and John, they talked about my ACU side of the family when I was little. And I thought that was a real thing. It was like you have your mom's side, your dad's side, and your ACU side of the family. And then I went to ACU, and I'm like, I do have an ACU side of the family. So Aunt Cheryl and Uncle Tim and Uncle Randy and a whole bunch of people, and really excited to be here, and couldn't be any more happy that Charlie Marlar's name is on the bottom of that. I found out part of the shade of the trees I didn't plant is him, and I knew that. And I was talking to my mom this week, and talking about him getting this award here in a little bit. And what I didn't know is when my dad worked for the university, Dr. Marlar was a confidant for him. And they found each other to be, they had lots in common. They were able to get in a room and just find some kindred spirits there too. And so blessed and fortunate to be living under that shade of trees I didn't plant. And a lot of talk about the ACU legacy there too, and had a great conversation with some students, and would love to have more about, it means something out there when you say you went to ACU. If you went to a state school with 50,000 people, you didn't know people. But here, if you go here, you know people 3 years above you and 3 years below you while you're here. And then you got your aunts and uncles and your mom and dad and everybody else and their cousins and all those things too. And it doesn't have anything to do with being related. It has everything to do with understanding the experience you get once you're here. So, I wouldn't be here for so many reasons if it weren't for ACU. One is that my mom and dad met here many years ago, so I literally wouldn't be here. My wife and I met here. We didn't date while we were at ACU. That's a great story I will save you now. And then, so Nash, you wouldn't be here if mom and dad didn't meet out here. So, glad you're here, buddy. You're looking sharp too, by the way. So I couldn't be any more grateful and thankful for that. And one of the things that we do in our family is every night we talk about, the three of us, what we're grateful and thankful for. And mine tonight will be the legacy of ACU, the shade of trees I didn't plant, and what God's blessed me to do in my professional life, which is wonderful. And so I'm going to talk to the students here in just a minute, but that legacy is something that means something to you professionally. Like I said, Cheryl, was somebody who mentioned that job when I first got into my career. Then I got a call from another ACU alum that worked in Dallas and said, hey, you should come do this job in physician relations, and I did that. And then I met people along the way that, I know you, and that network is growing and is stronger than ever, and that's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing not just professionally, but my best guy friends are my roommates here at ACU, so that's that legacy that I want everybody to enjoy and cherish, and just remember that's the shade of trees you didn't plant. And what I would say too is I'm lucky to have had so many great mentors professionally as I went there too, and if I was speaking to you students, it was, people ask me, how did you get that next job? A lot of times it was somebody believed in me and gave me a shot. And, I walked into a lot of rooms that I wasn't sure I needed to be in. And there's a phenomenon that you'll learn soon, students, and many of us in the professional world, called imposter syndrome, where you walk into a room and go, they're going to find me out. I'm totally a fraud. They know it. It's just a matter of days until I get fired. So I heard a great story one time whenever I was having a little bit of imposter syndrome, that one of my colleagues said she was a chief nursing officer, so on her door, chief nursing officer, her name, Jane Thomas. And she walked up there and she said, she saw her name on the door plate. She walked in and she just went in her office and cried. She just bawled because she was like, I don't deserve this. I'm not supposed to be here. They made the wrong choice. They're going to find me out and I'll be fired within a month. And then she said she got a little bolstered from that. And then she said, you know what? Why not me? Why not me? And I think of the biblical principle of stepping across the Jordan. And so I think that land is out there for you as students and for us in the professional world, that why not me? Step into that river, have that faith to do that, and God will bless you because of that. So I couldn't be more excited about this award. Excited to share it with my family. And I mentioned Jill too. Jill was in the department here, same time as me. She's younger, but which used to be, I used to be happy I was older, and now we, not the same. So she reminds me a lot. But I want you to remember tonight that you've come from a place that you're living under the shade of trees you didn't plant. You have a legacy that you should live out, share with the generations before and after you, and also just remember, why not me? Thanks.
I'll just point at you when I'm ready, okay? The former preaching minister here in Abilene at Southern Hills Church of Christ, good friend John Rissy, liked to joke about his prolific work as an accidental church planter. Seidman will remember this. He'd say, "See that church over there? I planted that one." I was like, "When was that?" He said, "That was after my sermon series on grace." A bunch of our members got mad, left. The next week, up pops that church. "I planted a bunch like that," he said. And in that same vein, I'd like to think that I had an indirect yet significant hand in our next honoree's noteworthy career. After broadcasting ACU games with me while we were students, suddenly the idea of spending every week cranking out 40-minute sermons, hanging around hospitals, massaging the egos of overzealous elders, solving internecine church staff crises, balancing budgets, and basically living on the front lines of a sin-soaked society seemed far superior. So he bypassed our shared childhood dream of sports broadcasting for a life of full-time ministry. Swapping the press box for the pulpit, he gave up calling games to herd sheep. And 30 years later, the corners of the kingdom that he has touched are richer for it.
Anybody who professes to be a Christian right now in my hearing, anybody who professes to be a Christian cannot say, "I don't hear God." Because the fact that you responded to Jesus is a sign, it's proof that you've heard God. Letters. It's just a matter of how you arrange them. And I know this, to listen means I have to be silent. And sometimes the greatest interference to me hearing God is the noise coming out of my own mouth. My ears are not as open as I think to the voice of the Lord when my mind is somewhere else. And it's worth asking yourself every now and then, just to ask yourself, is there a time in my life in my day, in which God gets my undivided attention?
We don't have any footage of that 1992 Angelo State game that we did. I was hoping that would... Yeah. I think we have an artist's rendering of it maybe somewhere. He served as the campus minister here at Southern Hills Church, and then the same role at the Hills in Fort Worth before becoming the lead minister at Gateway Church in Pensacola, Florida. He was there just long enough to make friends with people who would still let him use their beach house years later. Since December of 2000, he's been the lead minister at the Branch in North Texas. And I just want you to wrap your head around nearly 22 years in the same place. It's an astoundingly long tenure for a job whose practitioners usually have their office door nameplates written in Etch-a-Sketch. Under his leadership, though, the Branch has reinvented itself from a 100-year-old landlocked Church of Christ in Farmers Branch to a multi-campus body that has flung open the gates of heaven to any and all who would come. He preaches to thousands in person each week, and he puts his mass communication degree from ACU to good use each week, communicating to even more masses online. He's also an author and a highly sought-after speaker, and he happens to be my best friend, and has been since we were underclassmen here. We DJ'd on the campus radio stations together. We traveled across Texas getting into mild mischief. We skipped important meetings to play ping pong downstairs in the campus center. True story. We plowed through comm law in Dr. Marlar's class. We went to the kettle late at night as if we were actually going to study. We served as student leaders in the Southern Hills campus ministry. We MC talent shows during Welcome Week. We co-founded Moochers Anonymous. Thanks to you, it works for us. We were the still thriving and waiting on each other's dues after all these years. We were best men at each other's weddings. And even after graduation, when we had families and full-time jobs, we played way too many football board games together than any adult should admit in public. And even though we haven't called games together on the air since those days at ACU, he has been there for the last 30 years of my life, play-by-play, always providing the powerful commentary and analysis that I've needed to point me toward the mercy and goodness of God. Most important, he is the husband to Tara, the dad to Skylar, Garrison, and Cooper, the father-in-law to Skylar's wife, Allie. Tara is here. Cooper is downstairs in the campus center playing ping pong. Tara's sister Shannon and her husband Mitch Wilburn are here. So please join me tonight in welcoming the class of 2022 Gutenberg Award winner and a man who owes me everything, Chris Seidman.
This is such a grace to be with you tonight. And I did a double take when I was first contacted about this, simply because I had to say, are you aware of what I'm doing now, that I'm not in the industry? Having been in church work primarily for now the last 30 years. And those who contacted me assured me, no, we've got the right person, because you are using that which you gleaned some during your time among us. And that's exactly right. Little did I have any idea when I enrolled at ACU to do the degree in radio, television, and broadcast journalism. I had no idea, no plans to become a preacher. With all my heart, I had it set on sportscasting. And I experienced some things during my time at ACU that radically altered my understanding of what I felt like I was supposed to do with my life. And yet I will be forever grateful for my time in this department. And I just want to invoke the names of several who taught me and had a relationship with me in the time. I'm thinking right now, of course, of Dr. Cheryl Bacon. And I'll circle back around to her in just a second. Dr. Marlar. Who, though he taught a rigorous communication law class, he was full of grace and truth in the class. I think of Dr. Larry Bradshaw. I think of Dutch Hogan. I think of Merlin Mann. And there are so many others whose names I invoke from my time that some of the students may not be aware of, but I wanted to honor them today. I want to say a word about the caliber of professors that I sat under. A few years ago at the branch, we were in the midst of raising funds for a pretty significant children's and youth ministry building at our North Campus. And on the particular day when I was talking about this, Dr. Cheryl Bacon was at church seeing one of her sons and his wife. And she came up to me after church, and we hadn't even started collecting funds for this project that we've been praying towards. And she wrote the very first check our church received toward that rather large children's and youth ministry building. The first check we received was not from a member of our church, but from someone who taught me in Abilene, who loved the vision and wanted to sow into it, though it wasn't her home church. Now, I tell you that simply to say it's a beautiful testimony as to the caliber of people who teach here at Abilene Christian University. And I will never forget that first gift coming from you, Cheryl, and you sowing that seed that day. I have thought some just about the reality that this did prepare me for what I do now. The gospel of Jesus Christ is not advice, it's news. That something historic has happened and it has implications for this world and our lives. And that's the nature of sharing news. My training was not to give advice. My training was to recognize what's happened in real time and then help people reflect on its practical implications for their life. And so the gospel isn't advice, it's news. And little did I know when I came here and enrolled as a mass comm major to learn how to deliver the news, little did I know how it would equip me for doing what I do today. Jesus said in John 12:49, "My Father teaches me what to say and how to say it." Now, I learned how to put myself in position to find out the what in graduate school of theology here. But everything I learned about the how to say it, I actually learned in the undergrad department of journalism and mass communication. And the how to say it is just about as important as what to say it. And so I truly am grateful for my undergrad years in the journalism and mass communication department. And it's amazing, since the advent of technology, primarily in 2007 with the iPhone and everything else, how often I've looked into a camera or I've written something to be distributed. How often I've thought about my early years here at ACU. I'm so grateful, so very grateful. I met the best friend outside of Terra I ever had in my undergrad years in Grant Boone. And my other dear best friend, Rick Atchley, who preaches for the Hills Church in Fort Worth, buoyed my confidence when he told me as an intern that he was a communication undergrad major at ACU and not a Bible major. And I knew there was hope for me. I am so grateful for our elders, a portion of our elders who've traveled here along with their wives to be here tonight. So very grateful that you would spend the evening like this. I'm grateful to my good friend Grant. And I would tell you, students, that Grant, from my perspective, is an incredible example of what I hope the fruit of your life will be. We all believe in the priesthood of believers, that every believer in Jesus Christ is a priest. That doesn't mean that every believer in Jesus Christ is a church worker. It just means every believer in Jesus Christ has work that's sacred. And you have work ahead of you that's sacred, just as Grant's work is sacred, effective in what he does, and also a very effective witness where he is. For 30 years, I've been privy to conversations you've had with people that you work alongside, people that we watch on TV. And I've had a ringside seat to you being salt and light. And so I would tell you, you're going to be salt and light where you are. Not everybody's called church work, but your work is sacred. Make no doubt about it. And what you say and how you say it makes a phenomenal difference. And I'm grateful to my bride. For 30 years, we've been blessed with a relationship that's truly celebratory. And there's no way I would be doing what I'm doing were it not for the union that we have. And so I'm grateful for you this day. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May he turn his countenance toward you and give you peace. And may he continue to dig out our ears that we can all hear his clear word above all the other noise in our lives and have a brave heart to follow wherever he leads. God bless you.
So, Kenneth, thank you for putting me after such great speakers, professional speakers. I'm just a camera guy, okay? But normally I would just be happy to step down, but you need to hear about Shelby Coates. Shelby, so glad you're here. It's such an honor to do this right now. See, I'm already getting choked up. So if I'm going to do this right, I have to start off with a little bit of a history lesson, and I can hear my students groaning right now, but it's going to be short. But Shelby came into our department in the mid-2000s. Chris, you mentioned the iPhone. This was a time when we were exploring new technologies and new ways of telling stories. So it was still part of the Wild West of the internet. Facebook came on was launched in 2004. YouTube in 2005, and then, yes, the iPhone in 2007. And the Prickly Pear had already started a video staff to produce content for its CD-ROM, but it eventually merged with the Optimist to have a joint production staff, and that was in 2005. But at that time, the Optimist web host hadn't yet figured out how to host video. And so we set up a server in ourselves and published our Optimist News videos right there out of the department. And but at that time, it was crazy. It was crazy, but two very important things happened in the fall of 2006. The Optimist opened its own account on that YouTube thing, okay? And Shelby Coates was hired as the first video editor of The Optimist, first ever. So she obviously was wasting no time, because the first video uploaded to that channel, that shiny new YouTube channel, was on September 7th, 2006, and it was a video essay entitled "A Rainy Day." Remember that? Produced by Shelby Coates and Ashley Robinson. Very proud of that. It's still there. Oh no, everyone's going to go look. Okay. So for 2 short semesters, Shelby honed her craft by producing countless video packages for The Optimist. I do want to share that there's one story that I still think about every time I see the video on that channel. But it was in the spring semester. You've had a semester on staff, and in the spring semester, there was a terrible ice storm. At least this is the way I remember it. So if I'm wrong, don't tell me, okay? There was a terrible ice storm. Students were having trouble getting back to campus. No one knew when school was going to start. Shelby made it back to campus, and she had already shot video out on the interstate, trucks jackknifed, crews working on the emergency scenes. She went to the airport, interviewed travelers, and she did all of this. And she talked to students in the parking lots and trying to get ready for moved into the dorms. And she did all of this on her own. See, that chokes me up. Anyway, so very, very fun story for me. But she did great work on the videos, but while she was at ACU, she somehow found time to do some other things, like work at ACU TV and at KSU FM. She also served as an RA in Gardner Hall. She worked with the Students Association and the debate team and Essence of Ebony and the annual Black History program, and served on the Homecoming Steering Committee. So she was very busy. I would say you were a force that could not be stopped. Shelby would graduate in May of 2007, and she was named the recipient of the Dean Adams Achievement Award and was selected as Miss ACU by her campus community. Now, by that time, she was already working part-time for a local station, KTXS, but after she graduated, she landed a full-time position at KRBC TV. Now, so 2 years later, she started her rise up the TV market ladder, and in 2009 went to WMGT in Macon, Georgia. Then a year later went to WDEF in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Then in 2012 went to WSPA in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Then in 2015 went to WEVV in Evansville, Indiana. All this before returning in 2021 back to WMGT to take the coveted position of evening anchor and executive producer. So today, Shelby anchors the evening newscasts at 5, 5:30, and at 6 p.m. every night. And she balances her work life with being a member of the Chapel Hill Church of Christ, where she serves on multiple ministries and committees. No surprise. And by giving back to the local community through any way that she can, whether it's public speaking or anything to strengthen young women or mentoring young people. Now, Shelby is here. Shelby gets her own row tonight. Yes, that's great. She's here with her mother, Ivana Yates, and her father, Frank Coates, her sister, Dr. Sherelle Coates, a 2009 graduate of ACU, Sherelle's son, Ellison, her brothers, Joshua and Frank Coates, and her boyfriend, Marcellus Shedd, is here too, as well. Sorry, Marcellus, for that. I believe we're going to show the video, so let's show that.
It's a story we've been covering since the beginning, and now we're right back here.
I tell people all the time, it is an honor and a privilege to be a journalist.
New information about why officers chased a car that ended up crashing and killing 2 children.
People trust you to tell their story.
That didn't work. They've been shot inside the car. You can see the bullet holes going through there.
They trust you to be accurate
Trying to make their plans and planning accordingly, but it's just that time of the year.
and fair.
2 cars trapped inside a sinkhole.
I thank God that I get to get dressed up every day.
I kind of like it though.
It's nice into people's homes.
Before we say goodbye, we have to introduce you to our dog of the week.
And let them know what's happening in the community around them.
Tractor trailer slams into a local bridge. What it means for your tax dollars and your travel.
I get a front seat to history.
Covering the communities within the path of today's eclipse.
However beautiful or ugly it is,
Deadly storms, including tornadoes.
I get to fight for truth. I dig for facts. And I hold people accountable.
This has been taught maybe the best kept secret. What makes
No, this is the worst.
the worst?
I truly believe journalism is my ministry.
Make sure you have at least half the tank's gas.
God gave me certain gifts, talents, and abilities to be a voice for others.
That dangerous chase ended right here behind me.
It is a responsibility I do not take lightly.
It is my honor to present Shelby Coates with the 2022 Gutenberg Award.
Kate, I didn't want to get emotional. My boss told me, I know he's watching online, he's like, you're gonna cry, you're gonna cry. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna cry, I'm not gonna cry. I'm just so excited to be here and to be back at Abilene Christian. I haven't been on this campus in over 10 years, and so it looks so different, but the feeling still feels the same. It really does. To the other honorees, congratulations. Thank you so much for taking us to church. We had a little amen corner over here. I was like, I didn't know I was gonna get church on Thursday, but I loved it, thank you. And to my family and friends and loved ones and those watching on the live stream, thank you so much. To my professors who are here and some of my former classmates who are here, I'm just so excited that you guys get to celebrate this with me. And I can just say, like, I just have so much love around me, so much encouragement around me. And you guys believe my crazy dreams and my crazy opinions and just really love and support me. And I felt the same here at Abilene Christian. I know I was a student who just thought I knew it all. I was very opinionated. I had a lot of questions, and you guys just all just really took me in and helped me hone my gifts and my talents here. So I'm so thankful. I remember coming to Gutenberg. I remember going to the dinner and being like, I want that. I want that. I remember Dr. Marlar talking about it and just knowing it was such an honor and wanting to prove to him that I'm gonna be back and I'm gonna get this award someday. So when I got the call, I screamed at work. Everyone in the newsroom was like, what is going on? I was like, there's this thing called a Gutenberg. They give you this little press. And so I was like, I got it. So I was very excited. But it's amazing, again, to be here. And this is, again, a full circle moment. People all the time ask me, so did you always want to be a journalist? Isn't this what you wanted to grow up and be? And I have to tell them, no. I love TV news. I love journalism. I love fact gathering. I love being on TV. I knew I wanted to be on TV. I told my mom, when I grow up, I want to be on TV. And she took me to all the acting classes and everything, so I knew that. But my journalism journey actually started right here at Abilene Christian University. So this is such a full circle moment to me. I always tell people when I speak at other events in churches that seed for journalism was planted right here at Abilene Christian University, a school I never thought I would attend, coming from a little town in Clarksville, Tennessee, way on the other side of the Mississippi. My family didn't go here. I don't have a legacy story where my parents met here. In fact, my beautiful mother, before her, no one in my family had went to college and completed college. She was the first person I knew. So in my head, it's just like, okay, maybe I'll go to school and I'll maybe go somewhere in Tennessee. Chattanooga seemed big to me. I was like, just to go to UT Chattanooga would be so amazing. And of course, we had Lipscomb and Freed and everyone nearby. So I can't explain how I'm here, but I'm so grateful that I am here. And when I got here, I just knew. So again, my journalism journey, I love telling this story, actually started in Welcome Week. I remember coming to this campus and being a sociology major. I told everyone, I'm going to be a social worker. I want to change people's lives, and I want to be a voice for those who don't have a voice. And praise God that I remember meeting with the sociology department chair at the time, Dr. Gocher, and telling him my goals and telling him my dreams. And he just looked at me, and he had the wisdom to ask me, have you ever considered journalism? And I was just like, I don't even know what that is. Journalism, what are you talking about? And I remember he picked up the phone, he called Dr. Bacon, Welcome Week, and said, I had this girl over here from Tennessee. Nobody knows who she is, but I want you to talk to her. And Dr. Bacon made the time to talk to me. And that same day, I went over to the journalism department. I remember you showing me around. I remember being like, like newspaper, TV, the people who do the news. I never, in my wildest dreams, never thought of a job like that. And I remember meeting with students and them telling me about their passion and their love and what they enjoyed. And I just was like, I found my people. I needed to be here. And she told me, take a class, see what you think. And you really encouraged me. And you really saw something in me that I didn't see in myself at the time. And it changed my world forever. So thank you for that. And thank you, ACU, for that. I loved being on ACU's campus. And even, I have to mention, even visiting ACU's campus. When I was, as Kate mentioned, kind of an overachiever, so I remember applying to so many different schools and getting accepted. And being in Clarksville, Tennessee, my mom asking me, like, well, where do you want to go? And I'm like, well, I need to go to the campuses. I need to make sure it's right. And my mom's like, look, we're not about to go all over the country to all these campuses. You need to pick one, and that's where we're going. And so we went to Abilene Christian. And again, far away from home, nothing like Tennessee, but when I got on this campus, it felt right. And my mom said the same thing. I knew I needed to be here. And so I loved journalism. I fell in love with the short, concise sentences, getting straight to the point, gathering facts, holding people accountable. I remember learning about how journalism really changed the civil rights movement, and how if we didn't have photographers and journalists on Bloody Sunday and other marches, people up north didn't know what was going on down south. That just really impacted me. And I knew if God gave me certain gifts, talents, and abilities, I had a responsibility to present facts and information. And I learned that at ACU. And as Kate mentioned, I got to do so many amazing things at ACU. I remember meeting Robert and Roberts here at ACU. I remember learning, helping create the video portion of The Optimist and really melding media together and just really restructuring how we saw news. I got to do so much, and I really felt as I left here that I could change the world. And that meant so much to me. It's just crazy how life works out sometimes. It doesn't even make any sense. I know I tell this story a lot, but I'm a girl who came from a mother who was 18 years old when she had me. I was raised on a college campus where people would take turns holding me so she could go to class and she could get ahead. I go to churches in Clarksville all the time now, and they tell me, I changed your diapers when your mom was in school. And it doesn't make sense to know where I came from and what I saw and how I grew up. And we could tell stories. We really could tell stories. And now I get to be this woman on TV where I get to interview powerful politicians. I get to hold people accountable. Who would have thought? Could have seen that? And so I think I have two messages today, whether you are a student or you're an adult and you have it all together. Either way, I think back to two classes that really stand out to me, and I told Kay, two classes here at ACU I use all the time. One, the publication design class. And I remember when I was here, I didn't like pub design. I was like, why am I making this magazine? Why do I care about fonts? I just want to tell the news. But now, as an executive producer, I'm looking at graphics all the time, and I'm like, that font doesn't work. That's too cluttered. This graphic makes no sense. So like, I use it every day. I'm like, we're gonna change it up. And then I remember my comm law class, who at the time was taught by Kenneth Pybus, and it was a hard class. I remember just reading over my comm law books for those pop quizzes, and then everything I studied wasn't on the pop quiz. I remember filling out the First Amendment. But something that sticks to me, and I'm going to try to make it make sense, but I just remember there was a lesson in comm law about decency and obscenity and how to describe when something's obscene. Like, what's First Amendment protected and when is this something grotesque and obscene? And there was an argument before the Supreme Court, and I believe one of the justices said, like, obscenity is like, it's hard to describe, but you know it when you see it. You're like, I know it when I see it. And I feel like life can be like that sometimes. I think many of us have a testimony where things don't always work out the way you think it should. My social work career, no. But God truly has a way of guiding his children, and the Spirit knows. And right now, some of you may not be able to put into words the dream you're dreaming in your head, or the career path that you're working toward, or maybe some of the personal choices you need to make in your life. It doesn't all make sense, and you can't always put everything into words. And sometimes it may not make sense to anyone else but you. And some of you may be dreaming of careers that haven't even been invented yet. You may want to do things that there are no words, there are no definitions just yet. And I just want to tell you my advice, and I'm still learning this advice too. Trust your process. Lean into your mistakes. Take in the advice, the tough love, my mom, the support. Be true to you. Be the best you. Because you know what's right for you. You know it when you get there, like I got to ACU. You feel it when it happens, and you know it when you see it. Thank you guys so much.
Great job, all of you. Thank you so much. Tenure is a great thing because when I listed off the administrators, the one person I left off is our boss, the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, Greg Strawn. Dr. Greg Strawn has snuck in on me. So I also neglected to mention one of our previous Gutenberg recipients, Alicia Phillips Pierce, is here. And so, so sorry about that. All right. Okay. Our last presentation tonight is to honor and recognize Dr. Charlie Marlar. So, I could rattle off a long list of people who have left their mark on journalism and mass communication at ACU over the past century. Great men and women have made this department, which we have inherited, what it is today. But I dare say no one has had a greater influence on journalism and mass communication on this campus than Charlie Marlar. No one has been more diligent, faithful, resolute, inspiring. He set the standard that so many of us follow today. And you hear that every time at Gutenberg. We eulogized Charlie's life in May, and so tonight's a time to celebrate rather than to grieve. I do want to briefly note the depth and breadth of his work on campus, and I promise you this, I will not do it justice tonight. Charlie earned an English degree in 1955 and a master's degree in history in 1968 from ACU. He earned his PhD in journalism from the University of Missouri in 1974. He served the university as a faculty member for 58 years, 48 years as a full-time faculty member, and 10 years as a part-time senior faculty member. I think that's the fourth longest serving full-time faculty member in the history of the university. Dr. Marlar was the university's first full-time sports information director and served as director of information and publications before leaving to pursue his doctorate. He set the standard for what it means to be a sports information director at ACU. Charlie rejoined the university in 1974, was named the first chair of the new JMC department in 1987. He served in that role for 21 years, pushing JMC to be cutting edge in every way. Alumnus Ron Hadfield wrote this about Charlie, and I can't do it any better, so I'm just going to read what Ron Hadfield wrote. His teaching specialties of communication law, opinion writing, and publication design made him a department icon, known for meticulous standards, tough grading, and indefatigable commitment to principles that guided his work. During the 22 years he advised The Optimist, Marlar was famous and at times feared for the elaborate rating system he used for print issues. He panned each page in mandatory staff meetings, and once the Don H. Morris Center opened in 1978, posted them on the JMC hallway after each edition. Yellow, blue, and red dots marked each blunder, with the biggest red ones flagging the most heinous, the Pulitzer Prize. Green dots noted the best writing, design, and editorial work, and we struggled to get the green dots. Charlie set the standard. As chair, he pushed the department to seek accreditation, an external way to indicate what we know internally to be true, that we produce quality teaching, and a feat accomplished under Dr. Cheryl Bacon's leadership in 2000. As a faculty member, he served as faculty senate chair, as tenure and promotion committee chair on the university centennial committee. He was named university's outstanding teacher of the year in 1987. I can't think of a single thing that a faculty member can do that Charlie Marlar didn't do. He set the standard as a faculty member. He was editor of No Ordinary University, the history of a city set on a hill, a 1998 book by John C. Stevens, telling the story of the university. He edited a 1989 book, Lone Star Christmas, the seasonal editorials of Frank Grimes. He was constantly writing, constantly researching. He would call me up and say, hey, I just found this out, searching online. He was just constantly online, gathering up, vacuuming up information. Years after his retirement, he was still authoring the answer book and coming up with new things to put in it, and he and I would publish it on iTunes every year. So, all right, here's, I brought props. So I hold in my hand an application for a teaching position by one Charles H. Herbert Marlar. Among the more mundane items on this, such as his dissertation plan, the references, where he went to high school, is this gem under, let's see, why do you wish a position in Abilene Christian College? That doesn't make sense, but why do you wish a position in Abilene Christian College? I am looking forward to the completion of my current academic goal so that my family can be at home again and so I can resume my efforts in Christian education. Particularly, we are anxious to take an active part in preparing young Christian journalists for the service they hope to render. So, 3 things I want to note about that. One, this is a 2-page application. We cannot do anything at this university with 2 pages. Second, he says, we are anxious to take an active part. We mean Charlie and Peggy. They were a package deal. I could probably calculate, if I had to do it, I could probably calculate how many students sat in Charlie's common law classes over the years, in the 30 years that he taught common law. But I can't fathom how many people sat at Peggy's picnic table in their house over on Radford Drive and benefited from her good food and her warm hospitality. So when Charlie retired, that's when I came to teach at ACU, and I told Amy, you know, we're probably going to have PE students over to the house, and and she had been over at Charlie and Peggy's with me at times, and she said, well, that's okay. Just remember, I'm no Peggy Marlar. So I said, that's okay. I'm no Charlie Marlar. No. Finally, anxious to take an active part in preparing young Christian journalists for the service they hope to render. 50 years ago, in this application, Charlie had the mission of the university down already. He understood our mission, educating students for Christian service and leadership throughout the world. And that's what we do. Can you imagine anybody who did a better job than Charlie at preparing young Christian journalists and media practitioners and public relations and advertising professionals and preachers and healthcare executives for service they hope to render? I've left out so many things that I could say about Charlie, about his service to the department, to the university, to generations of majors who've come through ACU. I have a dozen stories that I would love to tell, but many of you have stories too. And each of which make him deserving of the award. No one has influenced so many students in journalism, in media, public relations, and advertising and communication. That's why it is so fitting to present this award to Charlie on the 30th anniversary of its creation. You may have seen the display outside of Charlie's first Gutenberg press, which he built 30 years ago. It has a prominent place in the Marlar study. And so the plaque I will present to Peggy is designed to accompany that press that's displayed in their home. And I'll present it to the Gutenberg Award to Charlie's wife of 67 years, Peggy Gamble Marlar. So Dave Marlar, Doc and Peggy's oldest son, sent in a response on behalf of the Marlar family that I'll read now. The Marlar family extends our congratulations to this year's winners of the Gutenberg Award, Shelby Coates, Jay Duty, and Chris Seidman. Your commitment to excellence in your chosen professions is a living testimony to the quality of education and training provided by the Journalism and Mass Communication Department at Abilene Christian. Our family is humbled by that the JMC family has chosen to honor my father, Doc, this evening. The annual gathering of this community to celebrate and reconnect was very important to Dad. The selection of a Gutenberg press as the symbol of the JMC Award for Excellence is no accident. Dad was a fierce proponent of the First Amendment, and the invention of the printing press was a critical enabler for the dissemination of information and the building of knowledge. I believe that everybody knows that Dad handcrafted the presses for the first 29 Gutenberg Award ceremonies. The build process, a labor of love, allowed him to return to an early passion for woodworking. He took great pride in every finished product, signing every mesquite base. In fact, anyone that contributed to the construction of a press was invited to add their signature to the base. Many of the early awardees have the signatures of one or more of my nieces and nephews on your bases. There cannot be a more fitting occasion to remember Dad than this gathering. Thank you for honoring him this evening. So before our benediction, I will say this. One of the last times that I talked to Charlie was to call and tell him who the recipients of this year's Gutenberg Award. And he listened and he said, "That's a good list." So in just a moment, I'll ask Rachel Puckett, Senior Advertising Public Relations major from Fort Worth, to close us with the benediction. Rachel is the director of Morris & Mitchell, our student-run advertising and public relations agency. Our dessert is in the lobby, and make sure to stop by the photo booth if you didn't get a chance before the ceremony. We want photos of all the honorees together and their family members. We want current and past honorees also, so stick around to take a photo. We want former Optimist editors. We want Morris & Mitchell team members, current and former faculty members. And Cheryl, this means you. You keep sneaking out. So students, make sure that you sign in for extra credit. If you're a Marlar mug sponsor, your name should be on one of the Marlar mugs that's out in the lobby. If you're not one of the Marlar mug, I can work that out for you. If you have $120, we'll work that out. And I think I have explained that the mugs will be distributed to and be held by the JMC family and throughout the world. So thank you to the Morris & Mitchell Gutenberg team for putting on the event. Carly Adrian, our Morris & Mitchell advisor. Rennie Finley, our 2022 account director. Alyssa Polnack, the 2022 account manager. Mariana Martinez, 2022 project manager. And Ashlyn Rowe, 2022 project manager. So let's show our appreciation to you. And now I'll ask Rachel to come and close us out with a benediction.
If you would please bow with me. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together today. Thank you for helping us remember friends, whether we are with them every day or whether we haven't seen them in years and years. Thank you for this campus and for everybody who gets to walk on its path and learn from its teachers. Thank you for bringing us together year after year to celebrate JMC and communication and the ability to love one another through our words and actions. Please be with us as we travel home this evening and have safe travels. Thank you for bringing us together, and in your Holy Son's name we pray. Amen.